This is the story of a 17th century Irish terrorist who became the most wanted man in Britain. Colonel Thomas Blood was one of the biggest chancers in history who, despite bungling half his crimes, somehow always managed to get away with it.
His Majesty saw fit to give unto me what is right and just.
Blood was even caught red-handed stealing the crown jewels, but instead of being hung, drawn and quartered, he ended up as a spy in the court of Charles II. Heaven knows how. Perhaps it was his oversized thumbs that brought him extra luck.
These days, Blood is famous for stealing the crown jewels, but he was more than just a thief. Like any infamous terrorist, he was blamed for pretty much everything, from treasonable plots to starting the Fire of London. And what he did do, he justified as being part of God's plan.
He wasn't particularly happy-go-lucky. He was just a Puritan bigot who hated Catholics.
They are not people of God, but vile vassals of Papery, whose only solution is the eternal fires of hell.
See what I mean? But he wasn't a preacher, he was just passionate. Probably because he was born a Protestant in Ireland in 1618. His family were originally from England, but they were given tracts of land in County Meath for fighting the Catholics.
James I had continued the Tudor tradition of giving Protestant settlers in Ireland all the best land at the expense of the native Catholics, who, needless to say, were none too pleased. When they rebelled in Ireland in 1641, Blood continued the family tradition of fighting Catholics and took up arms for the crown.
A bit of religious tolerance isn't such a bad thing, you know.
Are you a papist? I can't abide those vile idolaters.
Okay, don't start all that. Just tell me about King Charles.
He encouraged the profanations of Sunday sports and rural festivals, but the blackest day was when he installed that papist fiend Archbishop Laud into the church. He would cut off the ears of any clergy who refused to perform the sacraments and install idols in the churches.
Thomas stayed loyal to the king until Charles did a deal with the Irish Catholics in 1643. Blood was none too chuffed and switched over to Cromwell's parliamentarian army in the English Civil War.
That's a bit two-faced, isn't it?
Not compared to the devious nature of King Charles and his lackeys. At least Cromwell was true to his religion and fighting the Roman Catholics. My father and I went over to England and joined his new model army.
And is that when you became Colonel Blood?
Lieutenant.
Cromwell may not have rewarded Blood with rank, but he did give him yet more confiscated Irish land.
Things didn't go as well for King Charles. He was beheaded on the 30th of January 1649. The monarchy and the House of Lords were abolished, England became a Commonwealth, and Oliver Cromwell became the Lord Protector, in effect, the ruler.
Allow me, Thomas.
Blood could have settled down quietly with his lovely new wife and lived happily ever after in Ireland. But then Cromwell died, and this happened.
Things didn't go too well for you, though, did they, when Charles II was restored to the throne?
He was as bad as his father, and appeasing Catholics, those vile...
Will you just stick to the facts?
There was some at the court of King Charles who wanted the lands held by the pure and noble followers of the Lord Protector.
Cromwell.
Cromwell, God bless his soul, should be returned from whence it came.
You mean Cromwell's cronies might have to give the land back to the Catholic owners that they were nicked from?
Cast back to the papists who are the scourge.
Will you stop ranting?
The man causing all that bile was James Butler, 1st Duke of Ormond and Lord Lieutenant of Ireland. King Charles II had given him the tricky task of working out which estates confiscated during Cromwell's reign should be given back to their original Catholic owners. Believing that his own lands were going to be commandeered, Blood got together with other like-minded Protestants.
We decided to take matters in our own hands. It was to be a glorious uprising, a coalition of the willing in pursuit of our righteous cause.
And what cause was that?
Our rights to property and religious freedom.
In 1663, Blood was transformed from an obscure nonconformist into a most wanted man. he organised an attack on Dublin Castle in order to kidnap the Duke of Ormond.
Here's the plan. Philip Alden, 6 of his men, will petition Ormond, thus gaining access to the castle. Reverend Leckie here will dress as a big Ormond and drop a basket of bread, thus causing a disturbance. Do you reckon you're up to that, Reverend Leckie?
Aye, aye.
When the guards are distracted, we storm the castle and take that peppers fiend Ormond. Are you with me?
Aye.
Only it didn't go according to plan, did it? Somebody leaked the story.
That double-crossing Philip Alden.
Arrests were made.
They got me cousin, the Reverend Leckie.
And the declaration of your aims.
Aye, phone written in my hand.
The Dublin plot was abandoned. Blood and his gang fled to England. Perhaps not the wisest of moves. 70 of his accomplices were captured and sentenced to death, including Blood's cousin, the ranting Reverend Leckie. When Leckie was sprung from London's Newgate prison by 2 men dressed as women, everyone assumed it was Blood.
I would not do such a low and depraved thing as to don the cover of a woman.
The unlucky Leckie was soon recaptured and taken to the gallows. By now, Blood's reputation was such that when a rumour broke out that he was about to spring his cousin, there was panic, and the hangman fled the scene. Sadly, it only kept Leckie away from his maker for an extra 3 hours. As soon as the rumour was proved false, the hangman returned to his job. Meanwhile, Blood was on the run in England, and as public enemy #1, he was blamed for everything from stealing cows to plotting against the government. He evaded capture by donning a variety of disguises, including that of a Catholic priest.
I used my cunning to outwit the Papist persecutors, but I was nearly caught on a number of occasions. But I escaped from false brethren and even dogs.
Dogs, eh? And you even managed to outrun the plague, didn't you?
I escaped from ye pestilence because I had God's blessings and my activities.
Yeah, well, that says maybe, but you didn't have the public's blessing, did you? I mean, with your reputation, you were even blamed for starting the Fire of London, weren't you?
Poppycock.
But you were in London at the time.
I was in London on many occasions to meet bold and daring people like myself.
Blood's intrigues took him all over the British Isles to meet with co-conspirators. One of these bold and daring sorts was John Mason, a member of the Fifth Monarchists. This bunch of Protestant extremists believed that the Second Coming was just around the corner, and they believed that Jesus would choose England as his kingdom. And to pave the way, they wanted to abolish the monarchy, the House of Lords, and the established church. Unfortunately, John Mason got himself nicked. Blood's reputation for springing prisoners from justice meant that he was just the man to come to the rescue. Well, in theory, anyway.
I reckon we've missed him.
The plan was simple. Blood and his gang would hide in some bushes and then pounce on the armed guard as they passed.
Come on. Any sight of him now? What are you doing over there?
I'm with the Pope's face, so I am!
Come on!
But the lookout man left his post, and by the time Blood discovered this, he jumped to the conclusion that the prison party had already passed. So the gang ran off in hot pursuit of a hot lunch.
For what we are about to receive, may the Lord make us truly grateful.
Whilst filling their stomachs, they spotted the prison party outside the very same pub.
Look yonder, it's Mason. Thank you, Lord, for looking down on us with such favour. Hasten with your repast.
Blood gave chase, but the ostler at the inn failed to properly tighten the horse's girth, and after falling off 3 times, Blood was forced to fight on foot.
You useless ostler! In the name of God and the Fifth Monarchist, I demand that you release that man.
Are you a fool or a madman?
I'm gonna kill you, you cursed fiend!
blood.
I had to ride all night with nothing but blood and gore to cover me from top to toe.
So you really got yourself in trouble this time?
Test try. The king himself offered a proclamation for my arrest and offered £100 sterling to a person or persons who could apprehend me.
Blood escaped and nothing was heard of him for 3 years, but when he resurfaced, he was to attempt his most audacious crime yet, the theft of the crown jewels.